Again, to echo everybody's thanks for joining us, much appreciated. Good thing about this session, nice follow on from what Neil and Gonzalo were covering off just before the coffee break, in the sense that they were showing some of the demos of what they've built themselves. So the idea of this session is exclusively some of our customers who are going to show you their experiences of our tool set. I think one of the great attributes of Learnosity is the flexibility. So what you'll all see here today is how different customers have used our tools and the flexibility therein to solve difficult problems that they all have. So you'll forgive, I'm not referring to my notes, had a technical malfunction a few minutes ago. So if I get some of the little pieces wrong, do forgive me. So I want to introduce 4 customers. And we do each one individually as I go through them, but it will be Big Ideas Learning from Erie, Pennsylvania. We have UNIwise from Denmark. We have Otus from Chicago, and we have OnCourse Income, New Jersey. So I'd like to introduce Erica Berlin, who's the VP of Technology at Big Ideas Learning, to give us a little showcase of what they do with Learnosity.
All right.
Very good.
Thanks, Jim. Here, let me get into present mode. You guys are getting a preview of all of my slides. Darn it. There are some good reveals in there. So, it's okay. So actually, also what my colleague Jack Meyer is here as well. So if you have any technical questions, please address them to him at the end of this session. So I'm Erica Berlin. I'm the VP of Technology. I've been at Big Ideas Learning for about a little over 2 years now. You might find it interesting that as a VP of Technology, I've never written a line of code in my life. I have a background in more product development and not so much technical. So I don't know if there's anybody else out there that's in a position like me. Anyone? No? Oh, okay. One person. So please don't be too judgmental on what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So like he said, we're based in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I have a little bit of history for you. We were founded, Larson Techs, which is the parent company of Big Ideas Learning, in 1978. Our founder and lead author, Ron Larson, his book Calculus was published and Larson Techs was established. And you're going to see a very interesting date to follow that up, which is 2008. So we spent 30 years writing content for mostly higher education textbooks. And I couldn't tell you the number, but many hundreds of editions of different textbooks for higher education. And so Big Ideas Learning was launched in 2008 because of the opportunity for the K-12 market. We had a lot of content developers, and the opportunities out there just seemed too good to pass up. So in 2008, Big Ideas Learning was launched. 2009, we launched our first middle school program, Vocal Points. Not long after that, our high school program. So we launched this product, well, I guess it would have been maybe a year and a half before I came on board. And when I did join Big Ideas Learning, this product was, our tech product was already supporting this program. It was halfway done because a vendor, and maybe you've been in this position before too, our vendor that we hired to build this platform basically didn't deliver. And as we were creeping close to our launch date, we realized we had no product. And so we actually went back to school, and the product we had sold was not available. And that was really, really hard. And recovery was tough. So actually, our head of product, John Cullen, who's not here today, he's like, well, we have to get something together really fast. And he happened to see the Learnosity logo at a conference. And I know how Learnosity loves to put their logo on everything. I have my M&Ms back there. But he saw the logo and contacted Ben Powell. And Ben recommended a vendor that we could start working with to build a very quick MVP assessment tool that we could get out, because we didn't have anything in the fall and we needed something by the second semester of the year, by January. So Learnosity and our vendor put it together, and we were able to deliver this assessment system. It was very out of the box. Learnosity. We didn't really do hardly any customization. And then we spent the summer and the year following that building out the product that we had dreamed of from the get-go. So what's coming next? 2019, our first K-5 offering. It's going to be a full K-8 program. We're very excited about this. I have some mock-ups to show you of that product. We're really excited. But our team, so a lot of people may not believe this, but we have like 12 people, and I have a few interns. We are a very, very small team in Erie, PA. We leverage about 75 plus people and 4 partners in order to develop our platform. When we officially did launch our complete platform in the Back to School 2015, it was tough. We had some rough go there too, because we had taken our Learnosity out of the box and we customized it a whole lot, and that's where we started running into problems. And that's no fault of Learnosity. It's like the growing pains of customization. You know, it was very new to us. It was new to our vendor. And, you know, but these people made it possible. You know, Learnosity is a huge piece of that. And I know some of you have said that Learnosity, you have a quarterly review. We have a weekly standing meeting with Learnosity and our vendor. So that's really helpful because we're constantly trying to meet our customers' needs. And for our new product, we need their support on a weekly basis and sometimes more. And Neil has been really generous in saying, hey, well, we could set up a weekly call with another one of your vendors because we can help them through the customization process. So we're a big fan of Learnosity. So this is the product that we launched Back to School 2015. It's a middle school and high school platform, and we really were trying to keep it very simple. We don't really, here's a little quote. We have a lot of people that love Learnosity and how we use it in our product. So I just wanted to share this quote with you, and for you guys over there, I'll read it. My students and I love using the online homework because assignments can't get lost, which is a huge thing for teachers, by student or teacher, and students are given immediate feedback, and homework is graded and ready to enter into the gradebook. Sometimes when you're thinking from my point of view about the big part of your product and all of the amazing things you want to offer, you realize that some of the simplest things are being able to deliver an assignment, student completing the assignment, it gets turned in, you know if it's on time or not, and it gets auto-graded. Like, that's really the basic functionality, and everything else is bells and whistles for us. So this is how we use assignments. This is really simple. You're going to see that some of my data that's thrown in here is really non-existent, but these are some overdue assessments. And as you can see there, we offer a lot of information to the teacher. This is a teacher interface, by the way. And then if they'd like to create an assignment, they can choose the chapter that they want. They can choose the section that they want. And then they have a lot of options to customize their assessment. They can choose the problems, the students who are going to receive it, when it starts, when it ends. They can name the version of it for multiple sections of the class. They can write a message to the students, and they can assign it to additional classes. And this was really important from our customers. You can go in and create an assignment because you're in a particular class, and you're like, okay, I want this for this, but I want it for every single period. And so, you know, at the end of that process, we say, well, just assign it to all of your classes, whether you're managing that class in this section or not. So choosing the problems, the way that we designate our problems, basic, average, and advanced, odd or even. These little stars here represent questions that have live tutor available, which is something that we added, and that's a huge for our students. We also have the teacher gets a lot of control over, they want to offer help to the students. So if they're struggling with a question, sometimes you can say, I need help, I need some remediation to get me through this problem. They can turn that off if they want. They can turn on or off the live tutor feature, and they can also turn on calculator. They also have control over, do they want students to see their responses right away? How did I do on this? And for tests, this is really important. Holding back, I want to release the scores to my student, or I would like to have them see their scores right on the submission. And then we have a check answer limit. The teacher can set that as well. We do have an exciting new feature for Back to School 2017, but I think I'll save that for a later presentation that someone else is giving. But we're very excited for this. This is an example of an item, and this looks pretty familiar, right? We used a lot of out of the box. We did not customize this too much. And this is a teacher view, and there's two things to point out here. The breadcrumbs are really important because our Learnosity content is directly taken from our print. And that has been a philosophy of our company, that if you go to chapter 4, section 4.1, and you're looking at exercise 1, it's the exact same problem that's in the book. Customize a little bit for the formats that are available in Learnosity. Also, the teacher can review and they can see the correct answers. Teachers really wanted the ability to print out the assignment with all the answers so they could stand there and hold it while they're going through it with the students. That print functionality, for some reason, took a while. It was interesting. So here's an example of a report that we use. You can see a class view, you can see individual students, assignment performance, remediation, and standards. And as you can see, nothing was correct in this because it was a very, very poor performing student. And down here you can see your item analysis, you can see time on task, the score. The teacher can look at everything that's been submitted and send something back to a student. They can unsubmit them all at one time. We give teachers a lot of control. So in the course of a year, so spring 2016 to spring 2017, we more than doubled the amount of assignments that were given. So this is looking at every assignment to every student in a class. But our customers are using this a lot, and we're really happy about that. So I put another little piece of feedback up here from a student. And I'm paraphrasing his language here because it was a little too long. The main thing I enjoy, how I get instant feedback for my homework. I don't like to be in suspense with my schoolwork. And again, this is really, really simple, right? The students and their needs are very simple. He likes to not, he doesn't like to be in suspense. I want to know how I did on my homework so I can start calculating my own grades. I mean, there are students that are really, really into that. So our student usage, and don't tell Ben Powell, I don't know, is he here? So since the fall, our user numbers have doubled. So this year, we were still onboarding a lot of new customers, even in the second year of our product. So very excited about that. So where we're going next with Learnosity, we're building a dynamic student edition for our K-8 product launch, which will be launching at NCTM in April 2018. And if any of you are going to be there, please come by the Big Ideas booth. We're also developing the latest version of our dynamic classroom, and that is essentially taking a teacher wrap, and I'll show you, it's taking teacher notes and professional development for that teacher and wrapping it around the dynamic student edition, which is huge because one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at Big Ideas is that teacher support. We have really, really rich notes in our teacher editions, and we wanted to bring that into the digital experience. Also, assignment builder and skills practice. I can't show you mock-ups of that because they're not necessarily ready yet, but we are using the features that are available for teachers to create their own items, pull from item banks and create their own assessments and classes. And then at the district level, we're really excited that a district level curriculum coordinator can create their own assignment and then send it out directly to students, kind of bypass the teacher. So we're excited about that. And our skills practice, if you know any fluency programs, I mean, students get 10 items at a time. They're algorithmically generated, So we're really excited about this new platform that we're launching next year. So I'm gonna show you a little bit. Oh, what's going on? Okay, so here's an example of some customization, and remember this comes from UI UX designers, and it hasn't necessarily been vetted by Learnosity as to, is this kind of customization possible? But here it is. So this is third grade content. The student has looked at their bananas, and now they have to fill in the blanks. They will have audio support. They can check their answer. And here's an example of that teacher wrap I was telling you about. So here's the interactive content, and then here is what the teacher, and we call them Lori's notes. Lori Boswell is one of our co-authors. Lori's notes are right there. So through the grades, she can see standards, learning targets, an overview of the chapter. These notes don't necessarily match this content, but you can just look past that for now. Here's an example of a 6.8 platform. Here's a TOC kind of going through all of the content in this section, and here's Lori's notes, the chapter overview, again, learning targets and progressions for this chapter, and then here's an example of an example. So here's something really cool. So this is a Learnosity item, and when we talked about some of the features that can be on top of that extra example, the try it. This is called a try it. So a student would do this item right after they've gone through an interactive example. If they're having trouble, they can pull that example up again. Also, the teacher is able to do a formative check on how their students in the classroom are performing right now. So if all the students are working on these try-its, they can pull it up and they can hide the student's name if they want to show the class how they're doing. This would be the written response. This is a skipped response. As you can see, correct, incorrect, or partially correct. So the formative check is an important piece for us. Obviously, I'm sure it is for you for differentiated instruction. And I think that's it. I've been racing.
That's great.
I ended it there because I'm sure I'm...
Is sitting down the way. He's going, great, I'll have less time at the end.
Sorry. So if I went over time, I'm sorry. But please come talk to me after this. If you have any other questions, I can talk to you a lot more about this, probably at length.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. So next I'd like to introduce our friends from UNIwise, which is an assessment platform across the Nordic countries and recently into the UK and Germany and countries like that. So I want to introduce Rasmus, Mads and Thomas. And I think what was interesting actually, the first conversation that I had with the team here at UNIwise was with Mads, I think. And Mads had actually, he demoed for us a proof of concept that he had built on the back of being through our entire docs and demo site. So it was a real revelation for me of the robustness of those two sites in the sense he had the product built by the time he actually spoke to us. So it was probably one of the easiest partnerships that we ever actually put in place because all the hard work was done. So anyway, so I just want to introduce the lads and take it away.
Okay. Yes, let's move on. As Jim pointed out, we have a platform called WiseFlow. It's an agnostic digital exam assessment platform. I underline it agnostic, so we don't have any content there. The teachers, it's for higher ed, so the teacher or the professors provide that themselves. We are a spin out of a university ourselves, only like nearly 5 years old. And we try to build a platform that encompasses all user roles and or the workflow that goes on delivering exams and assessment. Yes, and we are based in Scandinavia. We have offices there and also in South Korea. Thomas will be presenting here. He's a team lead for the features team. Mads is the head of development, and I'm the founder of the company. Yes, we use Learnosity's APIs to the MCQs. Pretty much everything around it. We have added a little extra. That's what we want to show you. Also, our newest feature, the one that we call points-based assessment.
Yeah. Okay, so we haven't got a lot of time. So just to dive in, we use Learnosity as a part of one exam type in WiseFlow. We have various other types: flow sign, flow log, flow oral, flow handed. So we basically covers all kinds of exam types. And where we use Learnosity is for the flow type we call flow multi. Basically, we implement our Learnosity APIs throughout the whole flow of an exam. The authoring part, the managing part, the participating part, and the assessing part. We use the items API all the way through, and some of the other APIs accordingly. We have made, as Rasmus stated, we have implemented Learnosity items, but adding Learnosity APIs, but adding a little extra. So we came on board in the end of 2013, and we had a focus on activity first. So we call it like activity first strategy. We have made some time-lapse videos to show something of our platform. And we started up building our own authoring tool inside of our platform. So it's possible to build complete activities and handling them throughout, and particularly in WiseFlow. The reason why we did this, we made a rather custom implementation of this authoring tool, is that we need to have strict access control on each item. We cannot provide all our authors access to all the items. So we have we are a SaaS platform, so we have multiple licenses. So we have to have strict access control. And then we have made it shareable across users and licenses. So a user can select that this activity I built here can be accessed by a given person or an entire license. So what you see saw on the video was a quick time-lapse version of an activity built. The managing part is we have a role in at least in Northern Europe. We have a tradition of a centralized exam administration. So the one authoring the exam or the activity isn't the same who is managing the actual exam. So we have a mechanism for publishing activities which makes them static and makes sure that the activity isn't altered anymore. So when a manager puts it on a flow, an exam flow, it is secured that the item isn't altered anymore and thus not makes any last-minute changes. The participating part is quite out-of-the-box Learnosity. We provide both locked and open versions of the participant part, so it's possible for us to lock the participant in a secure browser and completing the test only by having the helping aids at hand, or have a complete open version. And then we have a full offline fallback for robustness, because exams are traditionally very high stakes, and in order to be robust in regards to network connectivity, we have made it possible to, if the participant loses internet connection during the test, he actually can continue all the way along, and when the clock finishes, he can download the content to a file, and then afterwards upload it when he regains internet. So I will give you to Thomas.
So the final step is our assessment tool, which is going to be used by the assessor to assess the student's performance. Here we've built a tool using the items API for rendering and the data API for gathering like a lot of extra information, like does the question need manual scoring, or is it auto scorable, or how is the max score set and minimum score, and so forth. We've continued on using the whole theory of having nothing at Learnosity side being changed. Everything is just loaded from the data API, and then from there it's completely immutable. So everything else happening here is our system built around the Learnosity system. So an assessor can add extra points and comments to each question, and give general feedback to the student. So after assessing all his students, the assessor can go to our analytics page, which looks like this, which is a completely custom analytics page built from the data API again, which lets the assessor get a quick view of how everything got through the exam, like from like basic information on each participant, how they answered each question, to more in-depth analysis of which pages or questions were particularly hard, where they shouldn't be hard. So yeah, anyway, the last part I'm gonna show is our newest feature, which is points-based assessment, which is a new way of approaching assessment, for us at least, where instead of like originally in our assessment theory or way of thinking, we assign each assessor to a number of students to assess fully. From each and every question is reviewed, and then they give a final score, which is then translated to a final grade. What we've done now is we've rethought that way, and instead we assign pages to assessors. And that's kind of cool, because that leaves an that's kind of cool in itself, but what's even cooler is that we can now assign pages to be auto-assessed by a robot assessor. And what that essentially means is that we can have entirely assessorless exams going on, where the assessment period is going to be zero, actually. And once the total points of a student is summed up through the auto scoring and the assessors and all that, we have a grade scale that then translates the points to a final grade, like A, B, C, D. So that's it.
Cool. Yes, just a quick ending note. We thought about what we're building in the near future is actually flipping the MCQs. So we want to build rubrics based on Learnosity's advanced questions, so we can actually have the assessors actually using standardized advanced questions to assess the to the students. So that's what we want to do. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. Very good, thank you, gentlemen. That's great. So next, I would like to introduce David Tooby.
What I mainly wanted to talk about was sort of the decision that we made to stop doing our own work with assessment, and then just sort of how we implement it. So it's very brief, but I think that it's really important to share this because we had a huge issue over last summer, a good issue, where it was like, oh, here's 15 districts, here's 50 districts, here's 60 districts, and we were severely lacking in question types. So, I mean, I guess you could call it like developer hubris, but we were like, yeah, let's just, whatever, it's fine, we'll create them all. And when I did the sort of looked at the numbers, even if we hired 300 people to start writing code, we would not be able to deliver in time. So, I can't remember if it was at ISTE, but we met Steve, or Keith met, one of our COO met Steve, and we started talking. And for us, who started out as a company that said, listen, if we want to do something, we're going to build it. We want an assessment engine, we want clean data coming in, we don't want any garbage. Same thing with polls and you know, even blog posts. We want to control that and build it a better way. Obviously, when it comes to assessment, it is way harder than it looks, and it takes a lot longer to develop. plus we had QTI, we had some of that stuff going back and forth. We have things going on with NWEA and other testing companies, and that, obviously, we needed more for that as well. Common core standards to attach to assessments and to items is pretty simple. We took care of that, but what we realized is certain types of tagging and multiple standards we needed to add. So, well, I already talked about that. But ultimately, what I really wanted to talk about is the fact that we had to give up on this idea that we could really build things just as good as everyone else in this sense, right? Sorry, assessment just as good as anyone else. There are people that do what they do, and they do it well, and that's who we want to partner with. So we've selected out of all of the myriad of pieces that we have of functionality, we have about today 4 partners who we believe could get the job done better than we could, quite frankly. And that's really hard to admit as a development team, as a product team, as the vision team, as the owner, everybody, you know, because like I said, we want to get it just done our way, and we want to be the best at it. And I think that by partnering, that's how we become the best at what we do. Finally, finally to this part, we have all these other initiatives. So instead of concentrating on the developers to do an assessment piece, or well, let's just use that as an example. We also have partnerships with some of the larger machine learning companies, and we have a team just doing that now, that's taking away. All we care about at the end of the day is the data. Like I was saying earlier, the LMS is great. But to us, especially from the development team, it's just a way to get stuff in, so we can start building that base. So what I really wanted to talk about was the implementation piece. Being primarily a developer, it's all I want to talk about. But so this is how it happened. It took us a long time to actually commit. So when we did commit, it was early, what was it, Phil? Early November? Early November. And we gave it to one developer, our guy Gennady upstairs, and we said, here, just figure that out. And he and I, for a while, we talked to Kevin and we talked to Rich, and I think we had 5 calls, and then we just did it. So we rarely got stuck. The documentation, as you guys know, is good. And whenever we needed any help, it was there. It was always there, and it's unbelievable. With the customization piece, the only bump that we've had in the road is just with item tagging, and we have a way to sort of work around that, I guess. And I know there's other changes coming, so maybe we just be a little patient. But in K-12, the teachers are doing a lot of the authoring, like you saw upstairs, the teacher-specific authoring, and they specifically look for standards. So, I mean, a lot of the teachers, they're only teaching to like 6 standards or whatever for each grading period. So you could argue, we'll just memorize the 6 ones that you use, and then, or we'll provide you the last 10 that you've used, or something like that. But, I mean, I had to talk about one challenge, right? So the other thing, which was kind of interesting, was, so obviously now we have thousands and thousands of assessments in our whole platform. And so we wrote some scripts, and we said, all right, well, let's convert them. So Gennady just leaves one day after work, and the next morning he's like, yeah, we hit our limit for the day. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, we had too many requests overnight. And I'm thinking, oh, well, sure, how many people are doing this? So again, that was one of those things where then we just called Kevin, and he said, oh, right, because we had to. And the other thing that we did, just in case you are migrating, is we took every user that was active within the past 30 days and automatically converted them. And then any user that logged in after, which was a lot, sorry. And any user after that, whenever they logged in, we would ask, you want to convert all your old assessments into our new assessment engine, and we no longer gave them the option. So for a couple months, we actually had our, what do we call it, classic assessment and new fancy assessment. So that's how that worked out. The other big thing when it comes to making that decision for us was what do we keep? You know, the first thing, and I remember Rich talked about another, not disparagingly, but he's talking about another customer. He's like, they want everything. So really, you know, they wanted all the items and to save everything locally. Again, if we are truly thinking about what our mission is, we just want the data and we just want the scores. We may at some point, well, because another big issue, right, is, well, what happens if Learnosity is slow? What happens if we try to do analytics? What happens if we try to do this? I mean, and to date, it hasn't happened, so it's good. And there have been another thing to think about, especially in K-12, is sometimes there's some weird, it's also the way our architecture works, is that sometimes there's a weird cross-origin thing where the Learnosity API gets called and the school says no. So finally, the kind of like I had mentioned before, similarly to the standardized test, now everybody's saying, well, where's all my item banks? And now pre-prepared or prepared assessments. So now with Fluent and Inspect, it was just like basically it just showed up. There was, we did have a little bit of an issue trying to combine adding item bank items with created items, but that again was easily fixed. So yeah, that's about it. At the end of the day, we thought our concept was let's do it. We trust another partner, and it's worked out very well. So I don't know if anyone has questions about it. See me later or whatever. I'll be around.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Otus, for the support. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Contini, and I am one of the co-founders of OnCourse Systems for Education and the current CEO. Up until about a year ago, I was Chief Product Officer, and so my job over the last 15 years, and that's right, you probably never heard of us, and we've been around, we're celebrating our 15th year. We're one of those dying breeds where we never went out and raised venture money. And we built this on sweat equity from the beginning, and at 15 years later, after a lot of hard work, profitable and have a really nice business going on. We are in over 600 school districts and in 40 states, but 80% of our business comes from the state of New Jersey and the state of Louisiana. That's how the internet works. That's how we grew organically. A little bit about us. I want to spend most of the time talking about how we've utilized Learnosity, but a little bit about us. We have many different products. We believe and we know that EdTech is rushing towards unification. And we started out as a one-trick pony with an instructional lesson planning tool, and over the last 15 years have built out a suite of applications. So we are an SIS. We do gradebook, special education software, learning management now, and assessment platform. We even have teacher evaluation and observation software. And so our goal is not to try to do this in 50 states, but to do it deep and do it well and offer an all-in-one ecosystem to school districts in certain states where we can have deep, authentic partnerships. We're about partnerships. And that's why we fell in love with Learnosity. We decided that to round out our system, we needed to add LMS and assessment built into this all-in-one solution. And I came out of a meeting about a year and a half ago talking about, well, V1 will do 3 question types. Multiple choice, true, false, and that'll take us a while. And I was headed down to Atlanta to EdNet, was it, Jim, I think? And before I even got there, I get an email from a very good sales rep who was checking me out online that I was going to be there. And it said, we offer question types as an API. And I was still product manager, and we have never, ever used an API before. We built everything in-house. My co-founder was always build versus buy. Why? He's a programmer. He can always do it better. So I went to him and said, listen, we're not going to compete. No one's going to want our assessment platform, our LMS, when there's companies that have been doing this for 20 years, and they have 12 item types. We'll never have 12 item types. That will take forever. And then we find out what this system can do, and it blew our minds. And so we went out and we met with them. Just like some of the other folks that talked here, their documentation was online. We were able to proof it out without even being a customer yet. So the other thing for us, not being venture-backed and having super, super deep pockets, although we're profitable and happy, it was actually affordable for us, for our size company. And it allowed us to start to play with the big boys right off the bat. And we're excited about that. So what I'd like to do is jump in here and show you how we're using Learnosity inside of our platform, and we'll see how that goes. So this is live, just through the internet. Test designer. Now Otus is going to have my login. That's all right. All right. And for the non-Mac guy, what is full screen browser? Is it Command? Anyone know that? It's F11 on little green button on this guy? Oh no, now I just, there we go. Thanks. All right, so we have a lot of different applications. You'll see that across the top here. We have an LMS and an assessment platform. The difference, the LMS is very much classroom tool integrated with our gradebook, and you can build assessment inside of it as a single teacher. Your assessment tool is more for benchmarking, for the district to build benchmark tools. We partnered with item bank partners. In fact, right here, Fluence we partnered with as well, and we're partnering with KDS and Spec. Again, all recommended to us through Learnosity. So let's take a look at it from a teacher perspective. When we first learned about Learnosity, we said, hey, we want teachers to build items. And they were kind of like, we're getting there, but it's really for the high-end authors. And so we went in there and said, well, let's see what we can do with your software. And since then, they've even been, looks like we're kind of slow here. They've been improving it more and more, as you heard. They have the teacher-friendly templates, and we believe it's going to get even further. So this is the LMS. I'm not going to talk about what it does. We have school districts using Google Classroom, Canvas, and they want to start to bring it in-house. We're not going to compete with Classroom. We'll never be that cheap with Google Classroom. But for those that want it all in one environment, we're offering this solution to them. So it's got the basic, set up groups and classes. If you're on our SIS, obviously they're all going to build out automatically. I'm going to jump through the messaging and go to where Learnosity comes into this. So as a teacher, I can create new assignments, and I'll just kind of create one real quick. A lot of times it's teachers not even giving an assessment. They just want to give a worksheet out, or they want to, we partner with other companies as well and recommend their software like BlendSpace, Edpuzzle, Buncee, because teachers are using all different tools to create content now, and we don't want to limit them inside of our environment. So they can, if they're a Google district or a Microsoft Office 365, that integration's all there. But let's say that they want to give a quick quiz. So I can name it, I can assign it to my different classes, and then this is where we start to integrate. Well, I just did something on a Mac. How do I get back to that tab?
The little yellow circle bottom left.
Bottom left. This one?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no. Look at this.
There.
Steve Jobs is rolling over right now.
What? I guess close this one.
X this out. It's going so well. There we go. There we go. Thank you. So as a teacher, I could come in here and I could do a couple things. I could start to add an item if I also want to. Maybe I'm left clicking.
Don't click with 2 fingers.
One click. All right. So all of this is us around here on the left-hand side, and then Learnosity is showing up in here. So I could click on the plus sign over here, and you can see Learnosity's interface showing up. we loved what we saw today in some of the early customization. We're going to start getting to that level to make it look less like Learnosity, because obviously if we're all in Learnosity, we want to look a little different, right? And we want to build a better mousetrap around Learnosity. So we'll be working on that as we go forward. So it's so easy just to go in, create, oh my Lord, what did I do there? Add an item. Scroll up. I think the internet's a little slow here. I just picked a multiple choice question. Let's try that again. Plus.
Oh, yeah, so if you push too hard, it tries to look up the word.
These computers are. So anyway, you can see the item creation in here. Again, this is all Learnosity. You're going to see this all throughout the day. One of the things we just wanted to. I'm not pushing hard at all, I promise you. So that's how a teacher creates an item, right? So then they can also jump over to the item bank, pushing real soft there. They could create their own district item bank, alter their questions, tag them to standards, and save them. But we also have Fluent built into this. So if I choose the Fluent's item bank, they can choose their standard set that they want to use. I have a favorite standard set here for, let's say, ELA, 5th grade. So all the standards for Louisiana, in this case, come up over here. I find the standard I want. I can blueprint and create standards ahead of time. And now on the right-hand side, we built this using Learnosity's API. They're working on an activity builder. We're very excited about it, but we had to get there before they were ready. So here's passages, and this is all being pulled from the Fluent's item bank. And then I can add these individual questions right to the system here. And it tells you what standards, how many questions so far you have on the system. As a teacher, when I go back and I start to build these, I can reorder these, drag and drop them. If they were self-created questions, I can pick our little standards picker here, and I can link the standards ourselves if I want to through our standards. We use Certica. I'm sure a lot of you do as well. If I want to preview it as a teacher, I can hit preview. This is going to then be the playback. I didn't put a question in there, so we added an item with no questions, so we're telling them they can't do that, but it brings back the playback on the student side. On the assessment side, which is the benchmark system, our LMS and our assessment platform work together. That's a great feature. So here's the assessment. This is what allows district test coordinators to easily organize all of their content. So I can open up, say, ELA. I can open up 5th grade. I can create all these folders, set permissions on them. Again, this is all our stuff. But then I can, if I want to open up one of these, this is a little different use case, right? We're creating a test that we're going to push down to different sites in different classrooms. So in here, you're going to notice that you can name the test, set performance bands, whether it's going to be online delivery. But over here, this is us using Learnosity API to allow them to set the various configurations that the test. This would take us years to offer this functionality that Learnosity gives us out of the box, from navigation, configuration, and so on. Then it's very much like, this is actually a test that's being developed for an actual school district. They authored all these questions. These did not come from the item bank. So they were able to go in, create passages, create questions, build out their 40-question spring ELA benchmark test. And then inside of OnCourse, what they can do is they can create a testing window, and they can push these down to the various classes across the entire district. What happens on the teacher side is this all of a sudden pops up in their LMS, their classroom, that they've been given a benchmark test to deliver to their students. And then they can go ahead and do that. So that's how we're using Learnosity, not to give all our secrets away to all our competitors in here. But it's terrific software. I don't know, so a couple people said it, the support is unbelievable. You can just call, you can submit tickets, but you just call, and I was really, Big Idea Learning, I didn't know you have a weekly meeting with Learnosity. That's even better. Let the cat out of the bag now. But we call Gonzalo and we call Neil whenever we want. I don't know how, they're both here, so I don't know how this company's running right now. So, but terrific support. Service, cost, support, best product, great partnership. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I know we're over time, and I apologise for that, but can I just thank everybody that presented here this morning just with us. I know we didn't give you a lot of time, and we kind of different tech challenges and things like that, but a sincere thank you to you guys from us at Learnosity. I know it's a much used kind of phrase, but without you guys we're nothing, and I mean that for the extended customer group here in the room, so thank you very much. Well done.